This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun, that there is one event unto all. Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil, and madness is in their heart while they live. And after that they go to the dead. For to him that is joined to all the living there is hope. For a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they shall die, but the dead know not anything, neither have they any more a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love and their hatred and their envy is now perished. Neither have they any more a portion forever in anything that is done under the sun. Go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with a merry heart. For God now accepteth thy works. But man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good.
Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils.
The son of perdition. Judas.
The habitation of devils.
Iscariot.
The habitation of devils. Babylon is fallen.
The deceivers.
The Illuminati-controlled public school system is not going to teach them.
They've received their 30 pieces of silver.
Pieces of silver.
Let your children know that Satanism,
Paid in full.
For Satan
witchcraft,
entered into the...
let them know this is vile, wicked, and evil.
Attorneys for a former Fort Riley soldier who prosecutors say is a Satanist who wanted to overthrow the government.
They'll give you a lie that you'll want to believe.
Turning back now to our coverage of last night's missile launch against the U.S. The missiles were launched just a few days after a U.S.-ordered airstrike killed Iran's top general.
Come out of her, my people.
This video is among the growing number of UFO sightings in recent years. So much, the U.S. military gave a classified briefing on Capitol Hill last week titled Threats to the Safety and Security.
The U.S. Navy has finally acknowledged that videos appearing to show UFOs flying through the air are real.
The spirit that possessed Nimrod.
Sadistic acts of violence in pop culture and entertainment.
I've listened to everybody on TV and radio.
Monitor what your kids are listening to.
I have bad news for you.
And what shows they're watching on television in the theater. Keep this garbage out of your home and away from you and your children, your family. That's good advice, folks. Have you noticed the rise in cannibalism? Well, I don't be careful what I say here, but they found a man hanging upside down, tied by his ankles, and part of his body had been eaten. Had been eaten. So what does it mean? It represents the progression downward.
Sometimes I cry myself to sleep. I cry myself to sleep.
The United States Naval Academy is providing a room on campus for midshipmen interested in the Satanic Temple. An email went out October 8th announcing the start of Satanic services.
But the truth of the matter is, we've gotten to the point in this country where people don't know what truth is anymore. When truth becomes a relative thing, then we are in trouble.
Goldberg says he identifies as an 8-year-old girl.
I have always been an 8-year-old girl, and even in my drawings and fantasies, I am always an 8-year-old girl.
Explain to young people the popular mainstream actors and musicians they adore, idolize, and model after are not real people. Help them understand they are controlled, manufactured products of an industry that promotes and or covers up Satanism, pedophilia, drug abuse, mind control, and murder.
And Mark Latunsky, who is now accused of Kevin's murder, told police how he killed and mutilated Bacon's body. We want to repeat the warning that the details are gruesome. Investigators say Latunsky admitted to stabbing Kevin and hanging him from the rafters of the ceiling in his Bennington Township home, then removing certain body parts and consuming them later. While disturbing revelations hurt the family, they say this is not how they want people to remember their son. Police say Kevin met Latunsky on a dating app. Kevin's family hopes that this tragedy is a wake-up call to people that meet strangers online.
There's so many signs along the way.
Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers.
The majority of people in our society have been spiritually infused with satanic energy.
You could see it in people's eyes. There's no one home.
Be ye separate.
Hasatan is behind the wheel.
Teach them the importance of the family. The family. See, the idea is that if you mess with a gender, you've messed with a family. You understand that, don't you? When you have two homosexuals or two lesbians being married, then what kind of a family are you producing? You've completely changed the identity of the family. And folks, the family is the nucleus of society.
What did Christ say about the wheat and the tares? The separation is here. The harvest is now. You can feel it. You can see it all around you. Spiritual warfare is raging, and the only way you're going to survive is with the full armor of God.
Let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
For Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light.
The Rothschild banking dynasty made their fortune through usury, predatory loans financing war and slavery worldwide. This inbred family of brutal war profiteers are masters of disguise, hiding their true identity, concealing their vast financial power and influence from the public.
In fact, since about 1800, they have funded both sides of almost every war. And of course, they're getting the interest off of the loans that they've given the various governments and the wars that they have actually helped stimulate and create.
World War I had begun. Armaments companies financed by Rothschild-controlled banks in Germany, France, England, and Austria bankrolled all the factions, experts at hiding their empire behind puppet governments and councils.
The Rothschilds worked with Belgium's King Leopold, financing his enslavement of the entire Congo and subsequent murder of an estimated 14 million Congolese.
All banks have histories, though not all have their histories researched and written. Only the Rothschilds, however, have a mythology. The world's bankers. The Rothschilds are the wonders of modern banking. We see the descendants of Judah, after a persecution of 2,000 years, peering above kings, rising higher than emperors, and holding a whole continent in the hollow of their hands. The Rothschilds govern a Christian world. Not a cabinet moves without their advice. They stretch their hand with equal ease from Petersburg to Vienna, from Vienna to Paris, from Paris to London, from London to Washington. Baron Rothschild, the head of the house, is the true king of Judah, the prince of the captivity, the Messiah so long looked for by this extraordinary people. He holds the keys of peace or war, blessing or cursing. They are the brokers and counselors of the kings of Europe and of the Republican chiefs of America. What more can they desire? Niles Weekly Register, 1835 to 36.
And the all-seeing eye of Osiris.
Preacher and Republican politician Pat Robertson's book, The New World Order, published in 1991, states that the Rothschilds were polluted by the occultism of illuminated Freemasonry.
This is Israel's Supreme Court building. It was designed, bought, and paid for by the Rothschilds.
Polluted by the occultism of illuminated Freemasonry. Polluted by the occultism of illuminated Freemasonry.
Every face a different shade. Masquerade. Look around, there's another mask behind you.
The U.S. Federal Reserve notes are not federal at all, but instead are privately owned by the Rothschilds and are covered in Masonic satanic symbolism.
Masquerade, hide your face so the world will never find you.
Polluted by the occultism of illuminated Freemasonry.
So you have to ask yourself, why would the children of Israel still be honoring the God of Pharaoh, roughly 4,000 years after God and Moses delivered them from slavery in Egypt?
I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
It was this masquerade that was the inspiration for the Stanley Kubrick film, Eyes Wide Shut. The film was an attempt to shed light on the Dionysian sex cults, which are pervasive amongst the banking and royal elite.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
No eye shall see thee, disguiseth his face.
The hypnotizing world of picture television brings us the news of the world through two central news agencies called Reuters and the Associated Press. The Rothschilds bought Reuters in the 1800s, which later bought the Associated Press and made the Rothschild family owners of the world's largest central news services.
The whole identity is a facade, a masquerade hiding the faces of imposters. The synagogue of Satan.
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
To the present day, the world depends on these Rothschild-owned central news services as their main source of news and information.
Waiteth for the twilight, saying, no eye shall see thee, disguiseth his face.
And they began to worship demons. Demons, devils, they're opportunists. And any opportunity they have, they'll seize upon it.
The private central bankers of Europe, in particular the Rothschilds of Great Britain, the Warburgs of Germany, met with their American financial collaborators on Jekyll Island, Georgia, to form a new banking cartel with the express purpose of forming the third bank of the United States, with the aim of placing complete control of the United States money supply once again under the control of private banks.
This is the modern age. They told us he didn't exist. They said ancient cultures were less evolved and therefore susceptible to primitive superstition.
Are we dreaming?
After proclaiming God to be just a figment of unscientific imaginations, they emerged from the shadows of the windowless stone lodge with a new doctrine. The doctrine of illuminated knowledge to enlighten humanity.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Unfortunately, many have grown accustomed to the counterfeit light that emanates from the projectors of perversion.
Hollywood.
They have become unable to differentiate the authentic light of truth from the glowing spotlight that envelops the Dionysian theater of deception.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
In the midst of this carnival of commercial confusion, an old religion was reborn. In the shadows. Do what thou wilt.
In the last days, evil, lawlessness shall prevail, apostasy.
Many decent people were too distracted to realize they were being initiated into a cult of degeneracy and self-destruction.
In these the last days,
Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners.
The demon god Bacchus was known to cross boundaries between the mortal and divine, the living and the dead.
What we were looking at, but we knew that there was a figure back there.
The spirit of deception is running rampant. The demon behind the painted face.
Everybody was kind of like frozen.
A masquerade of unholy alliances.
Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord.
I am a lost boy from Neverland.
We're living in a very deceitful time. One of the tactics of the devil is that he can transform himself. Shekinah is attached to Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is nothing in the world more than a Jewish rehash of Babylonian religion. The Shekinah is a female spirit. It has to do with the illumination of the illumined one. You're literally saying Lucifer. Folks, we are being bombarded today. And we are being bombarded in a manner that I don't think a lot of us even appreciate. It's bad, and it's getting worse.
Inspiration when you were younger.
There's all the fabulous evil queens, and look at me now.
And that's your inspiration, evil queens. I'm looking at
Because the spirit now that permeates this age is a Luciferian spirit. The Illuminati, or whoever they are, or call themselves, or whatever they are, at the top, at the very top of the top, they're Luciferians. They worship Lucifer. He's the one who came to Eve and says, God doth know that in the day you eat this fruit, you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. But he's not an angel, folks. Satan is a cherubim. Ezekiel chapter number 28, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. In Ezekiel chapter number 28, the Bible says, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast in the holy mountain of God. And he talks about all of these precious stones and these musical instruments that were his covering. This cherubim was directly connected with singing and worship of God. And there is, to this very day, two distinct lines of music.
In the book of James, chapter 2, verse 19, it says, Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble.
It is the voice of Ruth Baxter. This voice was recorded in August 2003. Ruth Baxter died in 1987. Electronic Voice Phenomenon, EVP, is the process by which the dead, through sound and image, communicate with the living through the static and white noise of modern electronic devices. But if they can come through, who else can come through?
It is one thing to contact the dead. It is another thing to meddle, and you are meddling.
The subject of some movies is so disturbing that those who experience them will never be the same again.
Jesus is being accused of casting out a demon, not by the power of God, but by the power of the devil, which reads, "And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said, He has Beelzebub, and by the ruler of the demons he cast out demons. So he called them to himself and said to them in parables, How can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand, but has an end. Yes, there is order in the kingdom of darkness, which is why evilness and chaos among men on the earth is so active."